So I believe that we're all at a time in our lives right now where we're just tired and we are exhausted and we just can't see an end to this really uncertain time period that we're in right now. You know, when this whole coronavirus thing started, I felt like I was doing pretty good. I didn't really have any anxiety about it. You know, I was able to look at the positives and just think, okay, now that all the distractions are gone, I can re-rack my priorities and just, you know, focus on God, focus on the Bible. But as time has gone on, you know, my patience has just been grinded down and it has been really just wearing thin over the last couple of months. I've just felt kind of downright depressed and anxious sometimes. And I think a lot of times as Christians, when we start to feel that way, we feel a lot of guilt because we know that the Bible says that we shouldn't feel that way. And it kind of demonstrates a lack of trust in God. So, you know, with the depression and anxiety also comes guilt and shame, and it just piles up and it piles up and piles up. And with this coronavirus situation in particular, I think the big issue is that in a lot of our minds, we're just thinking, man, this is taking way too long. I want this to be over. I want, you know, to get on the other side of this and for things to start getting better. And the truth is, you know, even though as Christians we may feel guilty when we feel these things, it is normal. And we can look right in here to the Bible and see where it happened for God's people. You know, my mind kind of goes back to the Israelites when they were on their journey to the Promised Land. You know, it all starts as Moses kind of leads them out of slavery from Egypt. They go on this journey and they come across the Red Sea. God splits it in half and they walk across. And at that point, you know, Moses and all of the other Israelites probably thought, we're about to be in the Promised Land. This is going to be easy. We are going to just tread straight through and boom, there it is. This land with endless resources, this land that God promised us, and it's going to be just awesome. But that really wasn't the case at all for the Israelites. See, instead of it being just a straight shot, easy-going trip to the Promised Land, it was 40 years stuck in a desert. And as we all know, deserts are dry. They are, you know, void of sustainable food and water. Deserts are miserable. And 40 years in a desert, it's going to take a toll on you. And it took a toll on the Israelites. You know, during those 4 decades, the Israelites who saw God's mighty power firsthand struggled with so many of the same emotions that we're feeling today as we go through this coronavirus journey. You know, in Exodus chapter 32, they became so impatient with Moses and with God that they built an idol. They built a golden calf so that they can worship that because God's taken too long. So I'm going to find something else that might please me right now. So they find something to worship other than God. That happened pretty early on in this journey. Then in Leviticus chapter 24, we see more Israelites blaspheming God, so frustrated with the trials that they're facing in the middle of the desert. And then more of that in Numbers chapter 11, the Israelites just complaining each and every day, even though God was providing for them. Then in Numbers chapter 14, the Israelites actually reached a point of rebellion where they wanted to overthrow Moses and his brother Aaron because they didn't like how long things were taking. They didn't like the way that things were going and the way that God was running things. And they even got to the point where they said, hey, I just want to go back to Egypt and be a slave again because at least then I know what to expect day in and day out, and I'm not stuck in this desert with complete uncertainty of when will I get there, when will the Promised Land happen. Anyway, you get the point. You know, as time went on, the Israelites became disobedient. They became sinful. Everything was taking too long. They didn't want to wait on God's plan. They didn't want the timing to be perfect. They wanted it to happen when they wanted it to happen, point blank, period. But see, even though those 40 years were 4 long, hard decades for the Israelites, God used that time to mold and really train His people to become just that, His people. the Israelites, the nation of the one and true God. See, God used that extended period of time to make them who He needed them to be. Even though they were frustrated with how long it was taking and the timetable wasn't what they wanted it to be, God was still using it for their good. See, in Joshua 1:9, God says, "Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go." You know, as we sit here in the middle of this coronavirus pandemic and we wonder, when will it be over? This is dragging on too long. I'm losing faith. I'm getting more sinful and disobedient. God's timing isn't working for me. We need to just remember those words in Joshua 1:9. God's saying, I'm here with you, and He's here with you right here, right now. Trust that and believe that. Just like God did with the Israelites in the desert, He is using this time right now to mold you and to mold me into the exact person that He wants us to be on the other side of this. Because the truth is, we all have our own promised land that God has given us, that God has planned for us, whether it's here on this earth or whether it's in heaven with Him. But God promises something greater on the other side of this. But what we have to do right now is we have to be patient and we have to wait on God to lead us out, just like He led the Israelites out of the desert.